All right. Hello, everybody. This is Kathy Tucker with Kathy Tucker Coaching and Consulting. And allow me first to introduce myself so that you know who we're talking to. Oh, you know what? I did want to, well, I'll get it there. So that you know who is talking. And then we can also, be able to get back in touch with each other. So I'm Kathy Tucker with Kathy Tucker Coaching and Consulting. And I have been in sales and leadership roles for over 30 years. And I worked with a national home builder and loved my time with national home builders. However, I realized that there is that sales management is one of the most critical roles of any company. And a lot of times there's not a whole lot of training for those people. So like me, I learned a lot from trial and error. I also had a couple mentors who helped me, but ultimately, through years of experience, I was able to fine tune a lot of my skills. And what I decided to do just this past year is to leave the corporate world behind and open up my own coaching and consulting business so that I could help aspiring sales managers and current sales managers, build rockstar sales teams and really teach them what some of the best practices are so that everybody can win. I'd love to see more women in those leadership positions, and I think they need mentors and coaches to help them get there. So that's why I started this program. So there we are. So anyway, let me now talk to you about our purpose here. Our purpose today is to talk about how to hold rockstar sales meetings. And I'm going to share 5 best practices that I think will help you have sales meetings that are productive, energizing, and that help you align your team to your goals. These best practices are a result of some of what I've seen, some of what I've done, and some of what I've studied through the years. So it's a compilation of a lot of different information. But I've managed sales teams and sales managers for many years, and I have had the chance to see what works and what doesn't work. So there we go. Why are we talking about sales meetings? Let's talk about that for a second. Well, first, one of our members of Peak Performance asked for some help on this topic. And secondly, I really believe that sales team meetings are critical to the success of a peak performance team. Sales meetings offer the opportunity to share best practices, to share the manager's visions and goals, to share success stories, to brainstorm, to teach, and another couple of major things is we always have goals. It gives you an opportunity to show updates about your goals in a group setting. And it helps everybody in that group feel like they're part of a bigger purpose, which is a key element to have in sales meetings. A lot of times salespeople are out in the field and they feel like they're on an island. So when you bring them into a meeting, they not only build relationships with their counterparts and managers, but they also feel like they're part of a bigger goal, a bigger purpose. And so that's very important. So I think sales meetings are a critical element of managing and leading a peak performance and rockstar sales team. So I think it's a really important topic. So that's where we are. Now don't get me wrong, sales meetings do not replace one-on-one meetings, but they're a component of creating really a rock star team. So that's where we are. Oh, hi, Elle. My Elle joined us. That is so fun to see you. So I'm going to go ahead and share the 5 best practices. And I have a few notes here, so if you see me shuffling a few papers, that's what it's all about, because I just want to make sure that I don't miss any really good nuggets that are worthwhile to share. So let's start by one of the first best practices that I want to talk about is the leader's attitude. So the question I would ask you as a leader is, are you coming to the meetings energized yourself? Are you coming to the meetings positive? Are you prepared and are you focused? Because ultimately, if you're tired or if you're running late or if you're not prepared, the team is going to see that, feel that, and basically replicate that. And that's not the goal of bringing everybody together. So I challenge you to take the time to prepare for your meetings and realize you don't have to do all the work. You can have other people bring information and take part of that meeting. But ultimately, you need to come to the meeting fully engaged, very positive and energized, and prepared to share the information at hand. So take a mental check. Like I say, your team is an extension of you, and you need to be a rock star if you want them to be a rock star. So that's the first best practice. The second best practice that I want to talk about is setting appropriate expectations. Now, the reason I mention this, and I mention this second because these first two I think are absolutely critical. You want to set expectations as to when you're going to start, when you're going to finish, and that you don't want them to have any distractions while they're there in your meeting. This meeting time should be dedicated time that you and they set aside to cover the topics at hand. And if they're on their computers or on their phones or leave to take a call or chatting with a friend or whatever, I mean, they're not engaged. That is not the kind of meeting that is a productive meeting. So it's very critical that you set the expectation. I'm going to start on time, I'm going to end on time, and I want your full attention. And if you don't, and part of that is you as a leader have to start on time. You as a leader have to end on time. You as a leader have to be fully engaged. It's just part of having a really good meeting. I've been asked, okay, well, what happens if people come in late? Well, here's my thought on that. First of all, you set the expectation and you tell them that I fully expect you to be here on time. If for some reason you're going to be late, you need to call me and let me know. But that doesn't mean that I think it's acceptable. I want to know that you're running late, but please plan accordingly and get here on time. I mean, that is something you can set the stage with everybody. If you see somebody or you have somebody who is late and they walk in, it's important that you don't say, oh, that's okay, just go ahead and have a seat. If you say that's okay, then you're sending that message to the rest of your team members that it's okay if they come late too. And you know what? That's not the message that you want to share. So you want to nod that you saw that they come in. You want to let them know this is what we've covered so far. We started on time. See me afterwards so that I can get you up to date with what this information is. But definitely, I want to see you afterwards. And that way you're kind of calling them out without being mean, but the rest of your team must know that it is not acceptable. So it's really critical that you handle that accordingly. If you have chronically late people, you have got to pull them aside. You have got to let them know that this is totally unacceptable, and help them problem solve what's causing them to be late, and help them come up with a different plan so that they're not late in the future. If they're habitually late, that's another story. You've got more of a performance issue and a commitment issue that is a whole different issue. But what's critical is that you don't want them bringing down the rest of your team. So enough said about setting expectations and ensuring that the people who come to the meeting are all a part of the meeting. I guess one other quick element on that is, like I said, you don't want people to be distracted. If you see them on their computers, you need to call them out on that. You need to say, okay, guys, I need your attention. All right? And look straight at the people who are not giving you the attention. Because, again, what you expect is important, but it's even more important that you stay true to that expectation and hold people accountable along the way. So that's the second best practice. So the first is check your attitude. The second is set appropriate expectations and hold the folks accountable to those expectations. The third is Set a purpose for your meeting. Set a purpose and an agenda. Each meeting, by the way, doesn't have to be exactly the same. One of the great things about great meetings is that you change things up a little bit, but always make it valuable to them. So when you come in and you start your meeting, part of what you want to do is say, so, welcome, glad to see everybody. How's everybody doing today? And we're going to start with, a discussion about our successes. We're going to review our goals. We're going to have a training on our skill practice. And then I'm going to go around the room with XYZ. How's that sound? Set your agenda. Let everybody know what they can expect so that everybody is on the same page. I would also say, is there anything in particular that anybody needs for us to cover today? And, if you have a team that's a workable size, then that's it's a great way to keep them engaged and make sure you're covering whatever topics that they really want and feel the need to cover. So set your purpose, set your agenda, and then stay true to that. So those are kind of all some organizational things, but part of running a great meeting is setting the right expectations, having the right attitude, and then following through. All right, now let's talk about the meat of the meeting. The next best practice has to do with your message and your method. So some ideas for you to help spice up your sales meetings. First of all, a great technique that I've been a part of is to start a meeting with a victory lap. So if you've had some great successes this week, if your room, if you don't have, it depends on how many people you have in your group, and depends on how much time you're allowing for your meeting. But starting with a victory lap, it might be the first meeting of every month. Everybody take a victory lap and share with us something great that you did or that you accomplished over this last month. And then you go around the room. Let them share something that they feel really proud of. This does a couple things. It keeps them engaged, it shares success stories, and it helps people feel like, they're proud of what they did. So I think starting with a victory lap is a great thing. If you also have time to expand a little bit upon that victory lap, you can ask them a little bit more about, what specifically did they do to get that accomplishment. This kind of merges with another tip, which is allow people to share a success story, which if you don't have enough time and you have too many people, sharing success stories is another way to do the victory lap, where people share a success story and share specifically how they achieved that success. What this does is it helps the people in the room not only celebrate their successes and accomplishments, but also understand, how did that person accomplish this? Because if this one sales team member had a great success, let them share how they got there so that others can potentially do the same thing and they can learn from that. This is a manner in which we create a team of winners and a team of peak performers. You talk about success stories, how they got that success, and then everybody learns and everybody celebrates. So doing that victory lap and or sharing those success stories is a key ingredient to having a positive meeting, and also helping bring the level of everybody's skills up a bit. So those are two things you can do. Next is, again, similar but different. Highlight outstanding performance for that month or that week. When I look at this, I think this is a combination of, you may have some reports that show what is the top customer service scores or something of that nature. Review those out that outstanding performance. I know in building we had different topics like how much handed money did we get, and if we were getting 5% or 10% hand money at time of contract, that was something to celebrate. And so we would talk about the top people who got more than 5% hand money, those types of things. Every business has their key metrics, and it's important to highlight outstanding behavior in those key metrics. So if you can do that, you're doing a couple things. You are recognizing those high performers, and you're also you're setting the expectation for the rest of the team that here's what we expect you to do, and you're focusing on it. And when you focus on it, other people work towards it. And then also when you have somebody who says, this is outstanding performance, you might say, gosh, Anika, how did you do that? And then Anika can share what she did to achieve that. And then everybody learns. So it's the same, it's similar to the victory lap, similar to the success stories, but it's a little bit different because you're leading that and you're helping them say, we had outstanding performance in, like I said, customer service or hand money or a marketing activity or a training event or, anything of that nature. So reviewing highlights of outstanding performance is a key element of your of a topic. Best practice sharing is another. What I recommend on this is to take your sales team, and let's say you have 15 people on your sales team, or maybe you have more, but let's say you have 15. I would look at each one of my 15 members, identify what's a strength that each one of them does, and then ask them if they'd be willing to share their best practice for that one key activity or skill. And then every week have somebody share their best practice. This does a couple things. It educates your team. And I often talk about, hey, we want to raise the level of our entire team so that all of them are peak performers. And you don't, as the manager, have to be the only one who knows how to do things, I mean, if you can surround yourself with great people, then you have your team members who have best practices. Let them share what they do and let them teach everybody else. So I would highly recommend that you do this, and maybe it's every other week or every week or once a month. I mean, it just depends on your team and how much time you have in your meeting. Let them know, I'm going to give you 10 minutes to talk about your best practice. Come prepared. Let's talk about what you're going to share, how you're going to share it, so that those 10 minutes are valuable minutes and that people truly do learn. And if you need more time, fine, that's your decision to make. But sharing best practices and rotating this is a great way to energize your team. And let me also tell you, sales team members work, like I said, a lot of times out in the field on their own, right? They love to hear what their other sales team members are doing. And, I have seen so many times where we've done this and a sales member says, oh my gosh, Kim, that is great. I love the way you put together your inventory package. And then they email this information and now you have everybody doing this best practice. It just, like I said, it takes your entire team up a notch or maybe up 10 notches because it is so valuable. So that's something. Another topic, and again, these are topics. This is part of your main message, and you need to spice it up. So another topic is competitive updates. I highly recommend that on a regular basis, you have your team members come in with an update about their competition, especially if it's competition that the others are seeing. Now, that is something that you don't want to lose half of your team members because one person is talking. But if this can be an update that everybody will benefit from, I think that's a great element to share. Part of what they can do is they can show the rest of the team how they analyze their competition and what this builder or competitor is doing that's different, new, exciting, that maybe we need to take note of. So competitive updates are great. Then a couple other ideas, which I'm sure you're already using, are, some training topics. You may do selling skills. You may do coaching. You may share business goals. These are things I'm sure you're doing. Of course, you want to have training on a regular basis and coach them. This is an important element of an informative sales meeting. Sharing business goals is an important element. Sometimes we as leaders think it's not as important, but you know what? Your team needs to know not just what their goal is, but what the team goal and what the company goals are. Because the more they are a part of the company, the more they know, the more they feel like insiders, the more they're going to help you achieve your goals because they understand what they are. So I highly recommend that you take the time to share your business goals and share where you are relative to your business goals and what needs to happen to get to the finish line. And then, of course, when you get to the finish line, share the successes. So that's part of, sharing the business goals. Another topic, of course, is bringing in a guest speaker. A guest speaker can do training. A guest speaker can also share information about the business. I know that, when I was managing a sales team, oftentimes I like to bring in the land manager or the production manager or the costing manager so they could come in and share their expertise. The sales team really likes to know what's coming in the future. What do I have to look forward to? Or what's causing our price increases? So when you have guests come in, you are increasing the level of knowledge of your team, and you're also exposing them to more people in your company, and you're creating more of a team camaraderie. So there's a lot of wins to that technique. Let's see, is there anything else relative to the method? Another thing that I've seen, the last thing I was going to share, is a book review. I have seen where we give the team a book to read, let them, hi Marian, nice to have you join us. I have seen where we bring books and we have everybody read a book and then they share their ahas from the book. So that's something that's another great topic, or another, something that kind of changes it up a little bit relative to your method. Hi Josh, we have Josh who joined us. Good to have you online as well. By the way, we are recording this, so if you've joined us a little bit late, we can be sure that you see the rest of it as well, because we have about 7 more minutes. So far what we've done is we've talked about how important it is to have sales meetings. We've talked about how, the first 4 elements of the best practices are, first of all, your attitude as a leader. You've got to come with the right positive attitude. Secondly, you need to set appropriate expectations of the timing and, when you're going to start, when you're going to end, and that you don't want any distractions. Third is you set your agenda or your purpose for the meeting and let them know what you're going to be covering. Fourth is the meat of the meeting, and we just reviewed a variety of topics that you can add to spice up your meetings. And the fifth best practice is to close the meeting. The close of the meeting is a very important element of the meeting, the opening and the close. So what you want to do in that closing is you want to close it in a positive way, because you want everybody to leave energized. A couple ways to do this are, first of all, be prepared to leave on time, and I'm prepared to leave on time. We only have a few more minutes, about 6 more minutes. So you want to let them know that you're going to finish on time. The other thing you want to do is leave with a motivational message or a motivational minute. One thing that we used to do, which people loved, was, every different person in the meeting would have a different week where they would come with a motivational minute, and they would share an inspirational message or an inspirational topic, and they may get 5 minutes or 2 minutes to talk about something that's inspiring, so that everybody leaves with an inspiring message. Another way to leave the meeting is with, especially if you did a training meeting, is to go around the room and say, what was everybody's ahas? I want to hear one aha that you got from this meeting that you're going to take with you and you're going to implement today. And when you do that, it keeps everybody engaged, and it also shares what I learned and what somebody else learned, I might have considered one thing to be my aha, somebody else thought of something else, but you know what? I really liked their idea too. I might make sure that I do that as well. You see what I mean? So it's very inspiring when you hear everybody's ahas, and you can leave on a very positive note. So, ultimately, we have only a couple minutes left here too, and I want to just share my last message with you too, and that is your job as a sales leader is to energize your team, educate your team, and empower your team. Sales meetings are a critical element of that, and take the time to invest in those meetings, because remember, all of those team members are most likely on commission, and they're giving you their valuable time. When you look at it as if it's your job to value their time and energize them, educate them, and empower them, then you're doing a great service to them. And when you look at it as if you're there to be at their service, almost as if they're your customer, then you are going to ultimately energize them. Hi, Beth Bird. It's good to see that you joined us as well. So those are my tidbits of wisdom, and I hope this helped you. Again, my 5 best practices are: come with a great attitude, set the appropriate expectations, ensure that you have a purpose for your meeting, fill your message with different things each week so that you spice it up, and then close your meeting on a high note of motivation and inspiration. So go out there, guys. Have a great week. Have a great finish to your year. And you know where to reach me, right here in Peak Performance. And again, if you want any additional coaching, I offer that. I offer one-on-one coaching. I have an amazing 90-day program that is how to lead a rock star sales team. And there's lots of more great information like what we had today. So thanks, everybody. And we have 3 more minutes. So if anybody has another question, you can type it in here. But aside from that, thanks everybody for your time, for your attention, and gosh, go be great. All right. Thank you, everybody. Bye.